Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 7 of Nerd to the Third, your stop for video games, movies, and everything nerdy. Today we bring you the power of 3 with your hosts, Nick, Nate, and the ever-rotating third chair, the member of all my sexual fantasies when it comes to a man, Coach!
My friends call me Coach.
I was going to do it, damn it.
I know, that's why I jumped the gun. I had to get ahead
of it. Giggity. All right, quick grinding here. Make sure to go to TX3 Productions. That is our Twitter. You can talk to us there, and also you can find where our Discord is, and also have conversations with us there. Another thing is, check out our other podcast called UbiChat. UbiChat is a podcast about Ubisoft, and we talk about games both old, new, and in the future, and just general Ubisoft topics. Really have a fun time. That is actually Nate who hosts it, so he gets to put on his big boy pants and have a good time.
I'm a big kid now.
Yeah, he does such a good job. Yes, he does.
Fun fact, there are some really obscure-ass Ubisoft games that I had no idea existed.
Right.
Tune into the episode to find out more.
Tuned out to find out more. We are officially switching to weekly, so we decided to make sure to do the episode on the correct day this week so that you guys didn't get too confused on us. But starting this month, we are now officially weekly. So this means we're going to be recording on Sunday and then uploading it on Monday morning. So now tune in every Monday at 8 Central Time, I guess? I don't know. I'll figure it out. Let's say Central. You know, leave out all us, you know, Westerners and Easterners. I'm like, wait, what is that? So anyways, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time will be a weekly podcast now. I'm super excited about this because now you just get like a quadruple dose every month. And sometimes, maybe even 5. You could get 5 doses of us in a month. Like, that's going to be your lucky month. We'll call that, you know, a leap year month. Wait, what? Anyways,
I'm lost in the conversation already. I just keep going.
You totally spun me out of control there.
All right, well, let's get this show started with, you want to know what really pushes my buttons? So what really pushes my buttons is when a really big company is on the little guy. So this is actually pretty brand new news to us. Just happened today, actually, and that is IGN actually plagiarized another person's review. To be clear, it wasn't exactly IGN. It was a freelance reviewer. However, you know, obviously this person does work for IGN, so probably not anymore.
Well, to clarify, this guy, he wasn't freelance. He was staffed.
Oh, really?
At
I
IGN.
thought he was
freelance. He was staffed. I'm pretty sure he was the new host of Nintendo Voice Chat, because I know Jose Otero left like a few months ago. Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to have a job anymore. I know that this happened this morning, and IGN since has taken down the video and made a statement. So we'll see what happens to him.
Yeah, and I mean the evidence is, I don't know, it's kind of hard because it's like watching one of those Amy Schumer, you know, stole a bunch of jokes. It's like watching one of those. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, there's the whole argument of parallel thinking. And so that basically means that, you know, 2 comics, or in this case, 2 reviewers, had very similar ideas, and so then when they put it down on paper, they just happened to plagiarize somebody. But then when you see the side-by-side comparisons, it's pretty damning, because it's basically like if I copied and pasted somebody's essay, and then, I'm in high school and I paste it, and then I just change maybe the order of a certain sentence, or I change one word into a different word to make it, it's not exactly the same, so I didn't plagiarize.
Right.
That's what it kind of seems like. I mean, am I the only one that thinks that, or?
No, I mean, it definitely, when you kind of compared them, like switching out the videos, it's like, okay, there's similarities, but the original person that is the basis of, this was plagiarized, was from Boomstick Gaming, and he posted a video of the IGN review and his review playing side by side. And so he would clip one, clip the other, clip one, clip the other, but they're on the screen at the same time. And like he even points out in the video, in the beginning, it's like, okay, that's not exactly what I said. It is different, but let's continue. And like, he would go on to play some from his review, and then he would play in the same section of the IGN review, and it sounded identical. I see where you're coming from with the Amy Schumer thing. I want to say that there is a difference here. I can't be specific and tell you exactly what it is, but I think the biggest thing with this is the fact of this could make IGN lose all of its credibility.
Right. And I mean, I feel like, do they have a lot in the first place?
Well, for the most part, yeah. For the past 20 years, that's what they've built their business on, as being this credible main source for gaming. I know there's been some cases in the past where something like this has happened, or there has been a rumor that this has happened, but this is the first time I've seen like word for word evidence. Hey, this looks very much plagiarized.
Coach, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, the biggest thing to remember is that plagiarism isn't necessarily word for word, but it could also be like idea for idea.
Right.
Like the common statement of, let's just say, for example, Abraham Lincoln was a great president. That'll be something that you'll see like pretty much everywhere, right? So it won't have that issue. But as soon as you start taking specific words or phrases or ideas, so for like a video game, it could be, I don't know, because I'm not a reviewer, but if you're playing God of War and somebody makes a comparison that nobody had ever heard of before, and then in your review you say that same exact thing, where it's no longer original.
Right.
So that's the key, is it original or not? Not necessarily are they using the same words or ideas, but is it original? It's kind of like if some small little black man decides to become a comedian, right? At that point, he's a ripoff of Kevin Hart. That's why people that, you know what I mean? Like, that's why people that are claimed to be ripoffs of people don't generally be successful, because they're plagiarizing somebody.
Yeah.
So, I think that's kind of the major issue here, is it's not original. So it's not so much that they use similar phrasing, because you'll find that in every video game review there's similar phrasing. But when you start hitting on the same key points, the same ideas, what could be improved, and you hit the exact same points, that's kind of an issue.
Yeah. And see, I think another thing that it's very damning as far as IGN, is the fact that his review was back, I want to say June 24th, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a while back, he obviously, or July 24th, maybe it's July 24th. Either way, this guy clearly got an early copy of it. Maybe he was one of the backers or something like that. So he got the early copy of it, and he did his review. And so then for IGN to come out, I want to say it was on the 5th, so this would have been 2 days ago. They come out on the 5th, and all of a sudden they have very similar things. That's probably the most damning evidence against them right now, is the fact that here it's a clear timeline. It becomes a lot more muddled. And so that also kind of brings up the question, okay, IGN, they said they're going to investigate. So, are they going to go through the script and, figure out, how much is quote-unquote plagiarized or how much is similar? And so, therefore, it's oh, well, this phrase was similar, but then he went on to make a different point, so that makes it okay. Like, how much plagiarism is acceptable, as far as it's like, okay, this was clearly like the same type of phrase that he used. What is the odds of them both using that phrase?
Well, I mean, if IGN is doing their own investigation, there's not going to be plagiarism found. You have to have a third party do it. So this idea that, oh yeah, IGN's going to, IGN ain't trying to, damage themselves, So I think that
I mean, other than the fact
flawed.
that they caught it, and so therefore it could be a good PR stunt for them to fire him. As far as like, hey, look, guys, we're not that company that you think we might be. So, we're saying goodbye to this person.
And, that's probably the most logical step, So I guess they, quote unquote, do their investigation, but they're not going to say, oh, yeah, there was plagiarism and then not fire the guy. So either there's no plagiarism and they keep the guy, or there's plagiarism and he gets fired. If IGN is doing it.
Exactly.
If it's a third party.
Go ahead.
If it's a third party, then they could claim plagiarism, and IGN will say, well, in our investigation, it's not, and, but if IGN does it, either the guy stays or he goes, and that determines if there's plagiarism or not.
Yeah. I do also want to reiterate that all of this that happened, more than likely, was the sole responsibility of the reviewer who did it. I don't think IGN as a company or anybody above him was like, has any, like, is at fault for this. Right. Because I know even Greg and Colin from Kind of Funny, and Colin's doing his own thing now, they've told stories before of, after a period of time, when they, kind of rose up in the ranks, or whatever positions they were at, they thought it was weird that they didn't have to submit their thing to the editor.
Oh, that's a good point.
To be like, oh yeah, this is good to be vetted. Like, they were just like, yeah, go ahead and post it. And I'm sure some of that's changed, but some people are probably going to want to take pitchforks to IGN and be like, see, you guys are so irresponsible. It's like, well,
yeah,
it's the sole, like, person at fault is this guy. It's not necessarily IGN. IGN's trying to do their best to fix the problem now. But,
yeah. I mean, that is the problem, and that's kind of what I was going towards as far as, like, people hating IGN. Pretty much anybody who gets too popular, as far as, IGN, the numbers they pull in is so much. So basically what will happen is that, like, they review something badly that everybody likes, and so that means they were paid off by the competition, or they give God of Review they get God of War such a good review, so it's like, oh, Sony is clearly paying these people, and it's unfair, because there are journalists who work there. They are real journalists. They went to school. There are ethics and everything associated with being a journalist and being a journalist company. You can't be biased. You can't take bribes and everything. And, like, I feel like there is a good group of people who understand that, and then there's the other group of people who are going to take something like this and just be like, see, this proves my point. Just like if you like or dislike Trump, all you need is one thing to convince you one way or the other. He could say something, and you could be like, see, Donald Trump is a great guy. He's talking about, like, the California fires, and it's like, oh, see, Donald Trump cares about us. Even though we're a blue state, he cares about us. But then he says, something else, and then it's like, well, but what about this? This means that I hate him. It's inner politics of even just gaming, even just being a freaking nerd, can just be a little ridiculous, as far as it's like, well, I don't agree with IGN on their God of War assessment, so that means that they were paid off. That means that they're just bad people.
You were talking about bias. Someone should tell Polygon that.
Oh,
got him.
Got him.
Got him.
Did I ever tell you guys I met him before?
Well, sorry, what?
Did I ever tell you guys that I met the D's Nuts guy?
No, this is the first.
I thought you meant I met Polygon.
No. I met the D's Nuts guy.
I've met an idea.
On Hollywood Boulevard.
Go ahead.
We were just walking, and all of a sudden I hear D's nuts, and I said, I swear to God, that's not who I think it is. And I turn around, and sure enough, it's him. I'm like, oh my God,
that's
really
awesome.
That's kind of cool. Well, I met the Green Power Ranger, so
that's way cooler.
See, that's 10 times cooler.
Actual like televised right there. So
he lives close to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
By close, like 3 hours away, but still.
All right. So, I mean, that's our opinion on the whole situation. What is your opinion? And let me know both if you like IGN or if you dislike. And, I'd like to see if that kind of affects your opinion on it or not. So let me know. You can go to TX3 Productions on Twitter. Or, hey, just go ahead and go to threatx3productions@gmail.com. You can also just shoot us a line there if you'd like. But let's go ahead and move into the weekly grind.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, so weekly grind is where we talk about what we've been up to, what we've been doing in the background. So let's start with our guest coach, which actually you're officially a part of the team, but for now you're a freaking guest.
I'm still the fall guy, so it's fine. I'm a guest.
I went dark there. Dark in my mind.
Oh no, I'll get to that in a minute. I will get to that in a minute. Okay, let me tell you. So, really, gaming wise, I started back at my job. A couple weeks ago with like teacher pre-planning days and whatnot. So I'm really just now starting to get back into the swing of work, being a teacher and all. And so now I'm trying to get used to going back to bed at like 10:30 and waking up at 5:30 and all this kind of stuff. So, I know, but it's actually pretty nice because I'm done with work at like 1 o'clock. Just because of how my schedule works out. So it's pretty sweet. But,
so actually, real quick for everybody. Real quick for everybody. Sorry, it's relevant, but I used to be a cab driver for everybody who didn't know, but now I'm studying to become a school bus driver. So I'll pick them up and take them, and you teach them. Okay?
Hey, that sounds good. And bus driving's not a bad gig, really. Like for what it is.
No,
it's for what it is.
I'm actually kind of excited. So go ahead. What have you been playing?
But as far as video games, I really haven't played a ton. Played No Man's Sky, and then it's now the sports video game season. So you're going to have Madden, NBA, 2 NBA games, wrestling, soccer, 2 soccer games. So you're going to have a bunch of games coming out, and this week just happens to be Madden. So I've just been playing Madden a little bit.
It's in the game.
Yeah, it's in the game, and this year is pretty good. Maybe at some point I can do like a solo review on it, like a little 5-10 minute thing. But it's pretty good. So that's outside of No Man's Sky, that's all I've been doing as far as video games. Now, for those that don't know, I watch a ton of movies, and I usually go once a week, sometimes twice a week, just depending on the situation. But this week was The Darkest Minds, and let me tell you. This thing is a total throwback to like 2011 teenage dramas.
Back
so
to like a Hunger Games kind of thing, or even worse.
Yeah, I would say think of Hunger Games. Post-apocalyptic. There's a love story involved that didn't need to be there, and just some of the dialogue is super corny. I mean, so just kind of think of that and the Twilights and Divergent when that first came out, and just that sort of stuff.
I mean, just the looks of it kind of look like something like Heroes. You remember that one?
Yeah, like here's the thing: the premise is pretty cool. And basically what it is there's this disease that spreads over the earth that I guess only affects kids. Now it doesn't ever define what a kid is. Is that 18 and under? Is that 16 and under, 10 and under? It never really defines it, but there are some like older kids, so, so this disease happens when this girl is 10, and basically the government, rounds up all these kids with this disease because it gives them superpowers. and it gives them different, and they label them with different colors. So there's essentially only 5 superpowers that are given. It's like super smart, telepathy, and like controlling electric currents, I guess. And then the last 2 is you can like control minds and put thoughts into people's heads and all that kind of stuff. And the other one is like you're just a brute that breathes fire. And
Interesting.
so they put them on to different color codes, and the movie is all about them trying to get to this like utopian style ordeal. And the whole movie, man, the acting was bad. The action, when there was action, it was pretty good, but it was so limited and jarring. And the biggest issue I had with this movie, it played to a sequel. So,
right, okay.
So it's all exposition to what feels like a sequel that may or may not ever happen. And I wish movies would just give me a good story, give me some good action or whatever, and see what happens from there rather than making it feel like half a movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
If you're going to do that...
Yeah, it's so disappointing.
Yeah, like it made it terrible because nothing happened in the first movie that was of any real significance until the last, 30 minutes. 20,
yeah.
And the movie's like an hour.
It looks really good. I had high hopes for it when I saw the trailer.
Right.
Yeah, like when I saw it, I was like, oh, this looks pretty cool. It reminded me of that movie that came out like in 2012, the I Am Number 4 movie.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And,
equally bad acting, but...
yeah, but it's kind of in that same vein as far as the acting in it and some of the dialogue choices and stuff. But, cool concepts, some cool action sequences. But at least with I Am Number 4, I didn't feel like it was just to set up a sequel. This movie was like, we're here to set up a trilogy. And it was just, man, give me a better movie than trying to set up this universe. Like, Marvel has screwed up how they make movies from the standpoint of everybody wants to be a withheld universe and have multiple movies stemming from it. And, man, it just turned into a bad film. Like, I thought about leaving after 30 minutes, but I'm with the AMC Stubs list, so I was there for free, and I was like, well, I'm here, I have nothing else to do, so let's just finish it out. And so the last 30 minutes were okay, but everything else was hot garbage.
That's disappointing. That's very disappointing.
All right, well, Nate, what have you been up to?
Well, my wife and I, the main thing is we've been binging iZombie on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
And man, I cannot give the show enough credit. Like, it is a really interesting take on the whole zombie genre. And it seemed like within the first 2 seasons, it seemed pretty like, okay, like I get this, I get where it's going, but go to season 3 and like on to season 4, it changes up the formula 100% and everything about it makes sense. The characters are great. Rahul Kohli, he's one of the main actors. He's hilarious. So if you haven't, I'm doing a bad job here. If you haven't heard or haven't seen iZombie before, it's basically about a girl named Liv, which I will say, the names in the show, because this used to be a graphic novel. Yeah. The names in the show are so funny because they're so like on the nose. So
Liv, okay.
Yeah, Liv Moore is her name. That's her name.
Nice.
And she gets turned into a zombie. And she basically, she's still living. She just looks pale and has like platinum blonde hair.
Right.
So she had this life that she was on, and she quits her job. She quits her schooling and works in a morgue so she can have access to brains. Well, she discovers that when she eats brains, she gets visions of the person's brain that she just ate. So it helps her to solve crimes.
Huh. So it's like Medium, but with a zombie.
Basically.
Yeah.
And so it gives you an interesting take on a crime show, on a kind of funny crime show, but as the later seasons go on, they basically build this universe into something different. And everything about it is contextual and it makes sense. Like, nothing about it's like, But it's really good. We're on season 4 right now, and they're just starting to shoot season 5. I think tomorrow is when they start production.
Oh, interesting.
Would you consider the show like a comedy or a dramedy, or is it more? It's an action show with comedy intertwined. Like, how would you describe the? I guess the
definitely more of a comedy.
Okay.
Like Rahul Kohli, he plays the quirky sidekick. Basically, he's Liv's boss in the morgue. They're both medical examiners,
right?
But it's got some drama moments, like especially in season 2. There's some like really kind of hits you moments,
right,
between the characters. But for the most part, yeah, it is a comedy.
Because I've been told a couple of times that I need to watch it, and I just haven't. But so it was something I thought about watching, and I just haven't. So I might check it out.
Did you like Warm Bodies?
I actually never saw that one.
Nick, did you see Warm Bodies?
Nope.
It kind of does something, because Warm Bodies is a movie about a zombie who is trying to turn back human, basically. But it's a zombie movie from the zombie's perspective. Right. So like the internal monologues and all the stuff is from the zombie. And it kind of does the same thing with this show. It kind of does a twist on the zombie genre.
Interesting.
Besides that, I've started doing a rewatch of the Star Wars Clone Wars animated show. Nerd alert, I'm watching it in chronological order because I found that on the internet.
Yeah, that was so insane that it wasn't in order when it aired.
Wait a second. What?
They aired the shows out of order. Like the episodes.
So
that's so confusing.
I can't explain why.
Like,
I really don't know why.
Like the pilot is like season 2, episode 23. Like,
okay, who found this out, and how did they keep it straight when it first started?
So the way Clone Wars is, like, if you watch it just how it is on Netflix, like everything makes sense. So basically what you think you're watching is just separate stories. And in the seasons, there are like 3 or 4 episode arcs, which across those 4 episodes, it's a connected story. So it's since they're only 22 minutes, but that's how it originally aired, was these separate stories. What you can do is you can watch them in chronological order. So for the most part, it's the same, except for like if you start at the beginning, you start with an episode from season 2 and then episode 1, and then you watch the tie-in movie that came out before the show came out. It's really confusing, and I don't have a clear answer why, but to give you an example, what I just said, those 2 episodes lead into what happens in the movie. So in order of release, the movie came out before the show did, to kind of give you, hey, this is the world we're creating.
Right.
But some people noticed,
and I watched that movie.
Yeah, some people were like, hey, didn't this battle already happen? So if you watch it on Netflix, you're not watching at any disadvantage, because you basically are just like, oh, this is just, different stories throughout these seasons. But if you watch it chronological, it kind of makes it a little more clear. And it's not a hard effort.
Right.
It's not. So, but it's cool for me because I've already seen the show twice. I watched it when it aired, and then I rewatched it a year ago on Netflix. So it's cool for me to watch it in a different order, because it does make sense. It does make more sense.
Yeah, and like
that is so weird. Like, I've never heard of another series doing that. Like, for instance, like Supernatural. I love Supernatural. Super cheesy, obviously, but like they don't do stuff out of order. Like, they don't just like jump around, even though they very well could, as far as it being a very procedural show where here's a new monster, they got to find out a new mystery. But yeah, I can't think of a single other show that does that.
If I was to take a guess, I think it's because they maybe had plans for certain episodes that they couldn't exactly just come out right out of the gate at the beginning of the series and be like, hey, this is... So like another example I have, in the first season, there's an episode called Rookies, where you meet these 5 clone troopers that have different personalities.
Such a good episode.
I like that one.
Yeah, you see them
really good episode.
Yeah. Well, there's an episode in season 4 called New Recruits or something like that, and it's those clones in training. but because they couldn't tell that story right away, I guess they had to wait a little bit. They told that story later on.
So it was more like a flashback.
Yeah, so that's one of the
what
things
it was supposed to be. But
you can watch that episode before you watch Rookies. That's what the chronological order is.
Okay, yeah, no, that actually sounds really cool. I might try that.
Yeah, and
send me the link.
And it's not like it's really just the first and second seasons. After that, they pretty much stay in order. But like the first two seasons, they're like all out of whack. Like episode 21 through 23 is like the first like 3 episodes of the show, and then it's like season 2, episode 8 randomly thrown in there. Like it's a bit wild.
Yeah. So the first episode in this chronological list, the first episode is from season 2 that they tell you to watch, and then the second one's from season 1, and then that goes into the movie. There's something that happens in the movie that they show later on in these other episodes, which again, I don't know why they did that. I'm going to assume it's just the order in which they came out.
I wonder if it had to do with like budgetary stuff. I know that might not make a whole lot.
Maybe some episodes had better animations over the course of time, so it could have something to do with it.
Yeah,
right.
But the biggest thing for me is I played a lot of the Black Ops 4 beta this weekend.
Ooh, yay!
Very exciting.
Please, did they have Blackout available?
No, that's in September.
Damn it!
So basically, the beta that I installed was 32 gigs this weekend.
Dang!
And so what that is when the open beta comes out this weekend. Excuse me. When the open beta comes out this weekend, I can still use that same thing that I downloaded. I don't have to download something separate.
Nice.
And when Blackout comes out in September, the beta for it's the same app as well. It's the,
right,
it's
and
the
you'll
same
just update
file.
it or whatever.
Exactly. So
nice.
It's it was a roller coaster, honestly, and I feel like that's across the board throughout the community. Of a lot of people, like over the course of the weekend, there's a lot of times I loved the beta, and a lot of times I hated it because there's just some things that are more frustrating than others. Something I will say is I think that they're going in a cool direction.
Yeah.
They definitely added a lot more tactical. A lot more of a tactical nature to this one, but not as much as I thought they would. Okay. It's just little tweaks that they instituted. So, like for example, you're watching your mini map more, or you're watching your health because you don't auto regen anymore. Right. You got
so do me a favor.
Which I like.
Do me a favor. Pick look, I always like ending on positive notes because I'm just a positive guy. So let's pick 3 things that were just like, oh my God, this is so stupid. And then let's end on a good note so it sounds like you actually somewhat like the game. And then you can give your full thing. So give me, what are 3 things that you didn't particularly like about the game?
So they changed the pick 10 system around. So you have your 2 guns, you have your primary, secondary, and then you have the normal pick the attachments at the bottom.
Okay.
I'm laying this out the way it's laid out, like on screen. So the next box is your equipment, and you can pick between doing a stim shot, which is basically a fast, like your health thing that you use to heal yourself. It generates faster than the typical. There's another one that goes for equipment, which basically does the same thing, except it charges your tactical abilities and your your specialist ability faster.
And so
there's
is
another
that
one
is that in the place of the stim shot then?
Yes.
Oh wow, okay. Interesting.
So you can pick that. You can pick armor, which basically gives you 50 plus more health. You start with 150.
Okay.
And then there's another one that gives you basically can get your score streaks faster. And then there's another one called acoustic sensor, which does the same thing that Sixth Sense did in Black Ops 3.
Yeah.
Where you basically get a perimeter of where the enemy is, and which I used a lot because it does help. It does really help out gameplay. But one of the things I don't like is the armor thing. So Drifter, if anyone's heard of Drifter, you probably have. He did a video talking about his critiques, and I'm going to mirror what he said about armor. You're going to mirror it. You're not going to plagiarize it, correct? Exactly. Armor is very annoying. basically from his interactions and mine, anytime I saw someone with armor, there was about a 75% chance that I was not going to get that kill, and he was going to get that kill on me because he had extra health.
Nice. Okay, makes sense.
So the way it's balanced right now, it's not. It could be better. He wants it taken out completely. I'm kind of middle of the road on it.
Well, I mean, doesn't that make sense though? Like, if you pick a subtype that gives you more health, that they would outlast your, let's say, you know, if all your guns and damage are equal, that he would just outlast you. Like, doesn't that like differentiate the play styles a little bit?
Yeah, and so a couple things they do to counteract that is they have a new attachment called AP rounds, which
armor piercing. Okay.
Yeah. So if you have those equipped at all times, you're good. You're good to go. Like, you're gonna do more damage with the armor piercing than you would, and you get those fairly early. So yeah, it's a good way to counteract that armor. But it's just kind of annoying when you don't have it and someone else does, and it's like, well, there's a good chance that that guy's gonna get a free kill.
So, I mean, now the armor, is that also in place of the stim pack?
Well, so you can heal yourself no matter what. The stim pack makes that...
makes it go faster. Yeah.
It makes it go faster. It just regens faster.
Yeah, it takes a lot longer for your auto heal to kick in unless you have the stim pack, correct?
It's not a lot longer, but it is noticeable difference.
Okay.
So yeah, all of those that I said, you can pick having one of those.
Okay. So it's an interesting, do I want to heal more, or do I want to just straight up have more health? And then, like, that's always kind of what makes, I think, Call of Duty interesting in the sense of, you know, there's always kind of like rock, paper, scissors going on. It's like, oh, I have ninja, you know, on, but somebody could have awareness on to counteract that.
Right. So there is a balance in place, but I think it could be tweaked a little bit more. The second thing I don't like is, do you guys remember drop shotting being a big deal in Call of Duty?
Yeah.
It's replaced by scuff jumping.
What the frick is scuff jumping?
So basically, in this game, there's no advanced movement.
Dirty.
There's no advanced movement, but you still can power slide. Like if you're running and you hit the thing to crouch, you'll power slide. But if you do that and jump, like it gives you extra mobility of like power slide jump, and every single person this weekend was doing that. And we had one guy in particular in one match I was playing who did that constantly, was just jumping around like it was nothing, and it was like he was playing Fortnite. The best example I can give is it was like Fortnite.
Oh, okay.
And so it was really, really kind of annoying.
Well, see, now maybe they could fix it like Fortnite, because in Fortnite, if you jump too many times in a row, your jump starts getting lower and lower.
Yeah.
So maybe they could fix it some way like that, where like, and I want to say, is it Destiny, or it might be Destiny, but you can't like slide too many times in a row or something like that.
Correct.
There's like a little bit of a cooldown, but it's not like it gives you a bar to know that what the cooldown is. You're just supposed to remember. So maybe if they implemented not only a jump, you know, you can't jump 3 times in a row, but also like every time you slide, you lose just a little bit of momentum each time. Maybe that could help counteract that.
Yeah.
We're on your like first thing.
No, we're on the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Scott,
yeah. Sorry.
The last thing is, it's kind of a two-parter. One, their new game mode control, I can't stand.
Game mode control. Oh, you meant that's the name of the... Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Their new game mode control basically tries to turn Call of Duty into Siege.
Ooh, okay. How so?
Because it's kind of like Hardpoint, except they give you there's two spots on the map. There's A and B. So it's kind of like Hardpoint / Domination.
Okay.
And you basically hold and control those points. And this is where some of the other specialists come into place, like Torque, who's got that barbed wire and that barricade are his special abilities. Mm-hmm. But it's not Call of Duty. And so another thing it does like Siege is you have a certain amount of lives. Like the team is allotted a certain amount of deaths.
Oh, okay.
So once you hit past that, you can't. Now, the reason why it's a two-parter is because Control on the map, I think it's called Seaside. It's the one that looks like the little Venetian place. It's got the shops and things like that. There's a church on the map that there's a front door for the entry point, and then on the back is a blown out wall. Uh-huh. Now, there's a tank in front of the church and a tank inside the church. Control on this map is garbage.
Yeah.
Because
did Drifter tell you that?
No. This is from our own experience. He actually had a way more valid complaint that I may bring up as another part. But anyway, you can climb on top of these tanks.
Oh, okay.
And the way the lighting is inside the church is you can't really see if someone's on top of that tank. So,
like the sun glare, you mean?
That, and like it's really dim inside the church. The lighting that's in the church is really dim. But also people will just get on top of those and just either pick people from inside the church through that front door, or will stay on top and like shoot anyone that they see. And so for me, I play Call of Duty a certain way. I play either domination or team deathmatch. And I get that they want to try something different, and that's what they're trying to do with Control, but I don't like it. I personally can't stand it. It was really frustrating, and I just didn't have fun. And I know people have had fun with it, but those are and all the complaints I have are really nitpicky, but it's one of those things that if they don't get fixed,
right,
it makes for a less than optimal experience for a lot of players.
I mean, there's a lot to be said, especially for like professionals and stuff. There's a lot to be said about the meta of the game. If they don't fix the armor problem, then that's what everybody uses. A really good example of this is actually Evo just happened, and a lot of people are basically trying to band together and get Bayonetta banned from Smash in Evo. Because basically everybody who got through to the higher rounds did it because they mained Bayonetta. And so if you don't fix your game, then it becomes a huge problem as far as competitively. If you don't buff certain stuff and make certain stuff better, and so I kind of equate it to something like that. If they don't do that, then like it doesn't become a choice of tacticism. It becomes, well, I have to have the armor because that's what everybody chooses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
a fine line between balancing, because here's the thing, like Call of Duty and Activision and any other like esport, they don't want to lose and change the game drastically to where they're starting to lose players that enjoyed the gameplay that already was. You know what I mean? So I think that's a pretty fine line, just to be like, well, yeah, just nerf this. Well, there's a large population that enjoys playing with Bayonetta, so now you're going to alienate them because you created an OP character or an OP move, or So I think it's always a tricky subject just to kind of give a blanket statement of, yeah, they need to completely nerf this character or ban this character. Like, you're taking away a portion of the game at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, they have to run that fine line, but I do feel like that's what these tests are for. Like, I always think of that one scene from Granchi's, like, airbag's a little slow. That's what these tests are for.
Now, I will say the complaints that I have, there are a good amount of good. The gameplay feels super tight. Like, I really like the changes that they've made. For the most part,
never has a problem with that. Treyarch is my favorite Call of Duty.
It feels like Black Ops 2 with mechanics of Black Ops 3 and the specialists.
That's perfect. I mean, I feel like the Call of Duty community, if you listen to the people who play all of them, Black Ops 2 was always kind of the one that everybody gravitated towards. Because even like Infinity War, it's so weird how the same game, quote unquote, feels different, because like when they did Infinite Warfare, even though it was kind of a clone of Black Ops 3, just because a different developer was handling it. It's just that the jumps didn't feel the same, the sliding didn't feel the same, and it
those two were
felt
night and day.
enough off that it was just, kind of I'm glad they're going a different way, because you know who does that the best? Titanfall.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad they're going a different way. But go on.
I will say that Black Ops 3 is probably the best advanced movement Call of Duty, in my opinion, just because it didn't feel too floaty like Advanced Warfare, but it still felt tight and it was still fun. But there's also cool new specialists. Like, there's a couple cool new ones. There's one, like I talked about, Torque, who is definitely designed for control because he's got that barbed wire, which is really useful. So another thing that I like is they give you plenty of options with these specialists that are in Black Ops 4. You can either play the Lone Wolf, and they've got the ones where you have like Sarah from Black Ops 3. You can do the revolver, and she's got a new equipment where it's basically a team tac insertion.
Oh, nice.
Or you can play support. There's plenty of support options. There's one called Crash, who one of his equipment is a ammo bag that'll drop. Okay. And then when his main gets charged up, he gives the entire team 50 extra health.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
My personal favorite, which I think is going to be my main, is Recon. And one of the things that Recon has is a Recon dart, which is the...
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah, so you shoot the dart in a specific location, and for an extended period of time or until it's destroyed, whatever enemies in that radius, they'll show up on the map.
Nice. Yeah.
His main is a vision pulse, which is similar to what was the bow and arrow from Black Ops 3? The girl with the bow and arrow. She had vision pulse. Oh yeah. But this works for the entire team.
Oh, okay, yeah, his ultimate, yeah.
Yeah, so he puts down his night vision goggles or whatever they are, and for the rest of the team, everyone is glowing red. Yeah. So you can see where they're at all times. So that's cool. He's been my favorite so far.
Yeah. And see, I definitely like them adding in, like, character abilities. I mean, a lot of people are, saying, oh, this is just Overwatch now, and it's like... I don't know, like, I kind of feel like they were headed in that direction when they were doing Black Ops 3. So, and I feel like Black Ops 3 wasn't copying Overwatch, other than the fact that I don't think it was out yet, but it was copying Destiny. You know what I mean? Like, and that's just another Activision, company. So it wasn't a huge surprise to me that, oh, now they have classes. And if anything, they're not copying Overwatch. They're copying... MOBA games and stuff like that. They're making it more team oriented. So I feel like that's not a very good, like, complaint. It's like, oh, it's just like Overwatch now. It's like, okay, Overwatch is one of the biggest games out there. Like,
that's kind of a good thing.
It's a good thing. And I feel like, I mean, just from I can't say because I haven't tried. I'll definitely try out the open beta, but it's like, why is that a bad thing, for one? And for two, it's just like, I feel like this just seems like the natural progression of Black Ops 3. They started with just the ultimate, whereas now each character has something that's unique to them. So it's kind of like an Overwatch where you have an L1, an R1, and then a one where you like push them together or something like that. And that's
exactly how it's set up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the same thing that Destiny did as well. So it's like, are they copying them, or are they trying to be more like Destiny, which is an Activision, which is also confusing because Overwatch is also Blizzard Activision. So it's like they're just kind of keeping it in the same realm, but they're adding their, Black Ops flavor, which, as much as people just absolutely bitch and complain about Blackout or whatever, I'm really interested. The 2 seconds that we got in the trailer where somebody's shooting from a helicopter, I'm like, that seems super OP, but goddamn if I'm not interested.
So it is a natural progression, and I think that it's something that we do need to push towards. The problem I think that's going to be faced is, A, I don't think Call of Duty players are ready for that in some ways, and B, at least this year for this Call of Duty, I think that only a small portion of the community is going to benefit from the change to a more hero type shooter with the specific game modes they're putting into place, because most everyone in the community are kind of like me and play either domination, capture the flag, or TDM. Yeah. Like I am a primary TDM player because that's the main mode that I can jump in, jump out.
Yeah. I am so excited that they are getting more tactical, because the game modes I personally like are the ones with objectives, and having the ability to have 50 extra health because you have the right team set up, or being able to see through walls or whatever, that will help with team deathmatch for sure. I mean, but I feel like those tactical decisions will help even more so if you're able to, coordinate towards an objective, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I have a lot of good on the beta, and I have a decent amount of bad. But if anyone is interested, I highly recommend you go take a look at Drifter's page. Mm-hmm. He's posted a lot of videos, good and bad, for the beta.
Now, hold on. Are you Drifter?
I'm not Drifter.
How can we know?
Because Drifter's got a very distinct dialect that I can't match. Everyone, this is Drifter.
Are you trying to say he has an accent? You bagging on people with the accents?
No, he just sounds super intelligent, and I don't most of the time.
That is very true.
Cutting yourself short there, I think, Nate.
Yeah. If anyone's heard Drifter, he sounds like a genius. He sounds like a professor. Anytime he talks, his videos are so intellectual. They're detailed breakdowns of different things with frames, and it's I don't have the time for that.
Ain't nobody got time for that shit. Yeah, I mean, I am super excited for Black Ops 4. I'm definitely going to try that out. So I'll give a little bit. I don't want to talk about it too much, because I'll basically decide if I agree with you, because the last thing I'll touch on as far as Black Ops 4, other than I'm just generally excited for it, the number one thing I'm going to touch on is the hate that Black Ops always seems to get. And I'm definitely not a fanboy, because I agree with most of it. I agree with we haven't even touched on the battle pass, and that'll be a whole nother hour-long discussion, so I don't want to touch on it too much. But I agree with it, but at the same time, it's the amount of hate that Call of Duty gets for being Call of Duty is just I don't know. It gets to the point where I feel like some people just hate on it because it's it's the Nickelback of video games. People hate on it because people hate on it. How many of those people that hate on a Call of Duty game, how many of those people actually do play it, or at least play it enough that when a competitor, someone like Drifter, who is an actual, I believe he actually does some of the competitive stuff, when he starts talking about it and starts complaining about it, it's I'm willing to listen to that. But then when just I don't want to throw shade, but when someone like Clean Price Gaming or Downward Thrust, and they're just ragging on Call of Duty, it's well, how much do you honestly play it versus that's what the overall rigmarole is, and so you just want to make a video about it. Not that I don't trust Downward Thrust or Clean Price Gaming, it's just not the same. I could make a video about Call of Duty, and I could make it extremely positive, but what is my viewpoint going to matter as far as I don't make content about it, I don't spend hours and hours and hours about it, so it's I don't know. I don't know where that was going. What have I been doing? Yeah, what I've been doing, I've been watching Orange is the New Black. Have you guys watched that at all?
I watched, I believe it was all of season 1 and then a little bit of season 2. And this was a couple years ago. Yeah. But I just, for whatever reason, I fell off of it. I couldn't even tell you why, but just something about it just got to where I didn't enjoy it anymore.
Okay. Nate?
Kind of the same. Yeah. I watched whenever it was whenever it was in the zeitgeist, I watched the first 2 seasons, and then when season 3 came out, I watched the first 2 episodes, And then something about it, I kind of lost interest. And I don't know if that was just me, because I know that my wife, she kind of did the same thing. She watched, I think, most of season 3 and then just lost interest and then tried to go back and watch more of it. And she said it was kind of a chore.
Yeah. Okay.
I know some. I was gonna say I know some of the big changes. By big changes, I really only know the one, and I think that was is either the end of season 4 or 5. I think, and it's the death of a certain character.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
was that 4 or 5?
Yeah, there's obviously deaths of characters not all the time.
Death of a character by gunpoint. Was that 4 or 5?
Oh, okay. That was. I guess I need to figure out how much there actually is. How many seasons are there?
There's 6 right now.
Okay, 6 right now. So yeah, season 3. It's hard to think exactly what was season 3 and why. Because what got me a little off. I think it was season 3 was a little bit boring. It was just kind of more of the same. Season 4 was kind of like, what was boring about that is that it was leading into season 5, and then season 5 was the riot. And it was the...
Okay, so it was season 5, I think, is the scene I'm talking about.
Yes. And then, season 5 was the riot. And so now season 6 was kind of the aftermath of it. And I feel like this was the change it really needed, because we're no longer in familiar territory. We're in like the max, instead of, I don't know.
You're in your maximum security instead of the general pop.
There you go. Gen pop. That's what they call it. So yeah, now you're in the max security part of the prison. I think it's still Litchfield. It's just now you're in a completely different part of it. And because of that, it's a completely different show in some ways. Obviously you still have, the main characters, but now putting them in a different place really introduced to a whole new group of characters, and if anything, I think that's why season 3 for sure started to get stale, because it's just more of the same. And then season 4, like I said, even though you get new characters all the time, obviously, but season 4 was especially bad in my opinion, because I really felt like they were going towards season 5, which was the riot. I really feel like if they would have gotten there faster, and then here we go, season 6 is the aftermath, and now we have a change of scene, we have a huge amount of new characters. I felt like if they would have been able to get to this point a little bit sooner, it wouldn't have been so stale for me. And I feel like we were right there with you guys as far as like season 3. It's just that I don't know. I think it was just the characters as far as that kept me going, and it was more, especially season 4. It was more kind of, we watched it because, it's something new and it's not bad.
Yeah, like I can't remember the last time I've heard anybody like on like my Facebook, on Twitter, or anything just talking about Orange is the New Black. Like there's the big hype of, hey, new season is coming, and then it's just like crickets. So
yeah.
But I know like the first 3 seasons, like everybody was hyped for it. And
yes,
it's the same thing with The Walking Dead.
Yeah, same with The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead at least still has enough shock value in some of its episodes that people talk about it.
No, it
but
doesn't.
Well, no. I'm talking about like public perception, like because I remember up until 5. Because I remember I would get deaths spoiled for me because like new episodes, people, oh my god, I can't believe such and such died. Like it was a constant thing I would see on Facebook, but now nobody talks about.
I can't.
Yep, nobody gives a crap.
I can't remember anybody talking about Walking Dead either. Now that you mention, it's like it just exists and people watch it, but it's not a highly popularized thing anymore. I don't know. It's kind of a weird.
The last season was absolutely the worst. The last season was setting up for the war of this season. So then this season is just ready. is just now getting ready to release on Netflix, and it's like I want to watch it, but also at the same time, last season for me, even though it had a lot of Negan or whatever, it was just so boring because like the entire season just seemed like a setup. Because then finally we get the war or whatever, but obviously that's when the seasons ended. And that was the last one I saw because that's what I watch on that particular show I watch on Netflix, which we'll talk about that more later.
So here's the thing for me is that's kind of where I'm at because I've heard nothing but people being like really excited for season, was it 9 that's coming out
on Netflix?
No. Like airing. Is it season 9? Is season 8 coming to Netflix?
I think so. I think it is season 9.
People from Comic-Con, people have been like, oh, this looks really good. And I'm like, man, do I want to go through seasons 6 and 7 and 8 just to get to this? Or do I just want to watch a recap?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know. And it does put it in such an interesting thing because going back to Orange is the New Black, I'm in an interesting place because I really like this season. However, sorry guys, I'm going to spoil it for you, but if you're stuck back in season 3, you'll never get there anyway. So for any of those who have seen the most recent seasons and you haven't finished it, skip forward like 30 seconds. It won't take me that long to talk about it. But what I like this season overall, but what I didn't like is actually the way it ended because I haven't looked it up. I could probably Google it literally right now, but I'm not going to. But what I didn't like about it is the fact that it kind of just ended in a way that, like, is that the end of the series? You know, like a good example is Stranger Things. Stranger Things, the season 2, you know, it ended like really happily, but then right at the end, there was that carrot at the end of the string. This one didn't have the carrot at the end of the string. There were a few things that were like, oh, that's a sad ending, but there wasn't enough that felt like, oh, I need to know what happens next. And huge spoiler. So if you skip forward, I'm still talking about spoilers. Go forward a little bit more further. Huge spoiler. Piper gets out. And so, considering that the entire series is built around the fact that she went to prison and now she's out, like, I mean, obviously they could still play on the fact that now she's trying to get used to life outside of the prison, but even the name Orange is the New Black, like that is the point of the series, is Piper goes to jail and everything. So now that she's out, it seems like even though there's a little things left up in the air, there's a lot that's like, okay, that seems like a good place to start. The last line that's spoken in the show is, okay, what now? She gets, brought home from her brother and he's like, well, what are you going to do now? And then it just ends kind of. So it's like, that's actually a really good place to stop it because there were, I don't know. It's at such a weird place. And like I said, I could Google it right now if they're going to come out with another season, but it's like, it is kind of confusing that if they were going to have another season, why weren't there more things that were just thrown up into the air?
If I'm thinking like a producer or a director or a screenwriter or something like that.
Yeah.
If there was to be another season, if that's how season 6 ends, if there was to be another season, maybe it would be like a short season where we kind of maybe get a little bit of like a closing of everyone else's story, apart from them just
maybe like a
still
Gilmore
being
Girls, where
like
it's like
four
four
episodes.
episodes.
Yeah, I was about to say 4 episodes. Sorry.
Yeah, because I don't see why, and I don't know her story, so I don't know if this does happen, but I don't see the point in her going back to prison. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because didn't that happen in like season 2 or 3 where she got out and then she went back?
Was there? I can't remember.
I remember it may have been a flashback.
Well, I mean,
I don't really remember.
Here's the thing: anytime a show leaves the premise, I feel like it's done. You can do a spinoff if you want to of somehow, but Orange is the New Black. Once your main character is no longer orange, what are you doing?
Yep.
You know?
Exactly. So, yeah, that's why it's at such a weird place. So
And now that she's green, you don't really know what to do.
it's all about colors to you, isn't it, Nate?
I'm colorist.
Oh, wait. Darkest Minds was Coach. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, so then let's talk about one of the... We have a couple more things to talk about. So
Let's
let's
do
start...
that.
Let's start with Rampage. I put this in the Discord group, so if you're a part of the Discord group, hey, how you doing? This might look familiar, but Rampage hurt my brain.
Man, look.
That is my impressions on Rampage. Coach, what's your impressions?
Look, can I just say, I had no interest in seeing this movie. Found out Sunday
Absolutely
I was on
not.
this show, and you're like, hey, have you seen Rampage? And I was like, I guess I can watch it before the show. And I did, and good God, I hate you. Like,
You're welcome.
man.
You're absolutely welcome.
Like, here's the thing, too. I think I'm coming off like a bit of a downswing because I just saw Skyscraper like a couple weeks ago. And at this point, I'm like, The Rocked out, you know? So just sitting through another hour and a half of The Rock being The Rock, just along with the big white gorilla, just didn't do it for me in any way. But the whole thing was just so senseless. Like, man, it was so. I don't know how to feel about it. It was so terrible.
Well, what do you think, Nate?
I liked it. I mean, so here's the thing with the Rock movies, you do have to pace yourself. So it's always at least a year that I've seen something like. So, like for example, last year I saw Central Intelligence. I liked Central Intelligence. I thought it was funny. And then Rampage came out. I also saw Skyscraper as well, but I saw Rampage when it came out to theaters because it was kind of one of those. We're not doing anything. Let's go see a movie. For the franchise Rampage, I will say this movie does nothing for it.
Oh,
Absolutely,
God, no, yeah.
whatsoever. It's almost not even really related by
There's
any means.
monsters.
Other than they
in the
felt the
buildings.
need to have the cabinet of the game in as many shots in the office as they could. Like, one time was a nice little, haha, look at this. But then they had it over and over and over again, at which point I'm like, you're just flipping us off at this point.
Yep. So I like Rampage for just a popcorn summer. Hey, let's go see a movie. For if you're looking at it in that light, I liked it. There are definitely some problems with it, but I like Joe Manganiello for what short time he was in it. I like The Rock, and I like Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Yeah. Which I will say at first, Jeffrey Dean Morgan's cowboy thing, pushed me off.
Oh yeah.
But as the movie went on, I was like, okay, this is.
Well, can I also
whatever.
just say the fact, Nick, did you see it in theaters or did you watch it when it came out on digital?
I saw it in theaters.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
And I saw it in Redbox.
Okay, see, I watched it in
wasn't gonna
Redbox
pay full
too, so
price
I
for
wonder
this.
if seeing it in theater, because there is a bit of a spectacle to the movie in terms of all the destruction.
I could have watched it on my phone, or I could have watched it on an IMAX. I don't think my opinion of it would have mattered.
No, but I'm just
or would
saying,
have faltered.
seeing, buildings getting torn down and, a 1,000-inch screen is kind of cool, so.
Yeah, movie probably is viewed better when it is in theaters. And like I was saying, it's for what it is, just hey, let's go to the movies, eat some popcorn, and watch a destruction film. That's what it was good for. I've seen better disaster movies, but like, I don't know. It had some charm and some humor to it that I appreciated. Like I liked the beginning. I liked the beginning when they scared the new guy. Like I thought that was really funny.
That was good for a good character moment for like the monkey or whatever. But then
I did like the thing at the end where The Rock thought George died. And then like him and the girl
spoiler,
at the end, and
by
then
the
George,
way, I guess.
Yeah, for Rampage, yeah. And then he looks up, and then you look over, and George is doing the finger and the like sex motion. I thought that was really funny. I got a chuckle out of that.
It was funny, but like, okay, I'm gonna tell you two parts. One, I guess, is a major spoiler, but if you haven't seen this movie, you probably don't want to see it at this point. So I'm not really spoiling anything for you. I'm saving you. That's right. It is a humanitarian at this point.
You only have to claim spoilers if it matters, right? Like,
right? Okay, so there are two the part that actually made me say the line on Discord, which was Rampage hurts my brain. There was plenty of points that hurt my brain, but the main point that made me finally say F it, and I put that on Discord, was the part where they're sneaking through the forest because they're trying to find Ralph, which is the wolf. They're sneaking through the forest, and of course they have to have that false jump scare, which is just the oldest cliche thing in the book, because it's so obvious that the real jump scare is coming that it's not a jump scare anymore. So why have the fake jump scare in the first place? Because it's in your freaking handbook and you have to follow your handbook. Otherwise, you're not a fucking movie, apparently. So anyways, this part comes and it's the false jump scare and it's these freaking deers. And oh no, it's deers or whatever. But here's the part that hurts my brain. The way they set it up is that the deers run through, the guys get a little, I guess that was scared. And then all of a sudden the wolf comes from behind and eats a guy. But here's the part that hurts my brain. Why would the deers be running towards the fucking wolf?
You know, you bring up some great points. And this is why the movie is terrible. And it was like that the whole movie, though. There was just small, incremental things every rip that just made no sense whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
So
they were movieing for the sake of movieing. Like, they had to have a sniveling little fuck to have a sniveling little fuck. There was no reason to have that guy in there other than yay feminism. I'm sorry, I know that's a shitty thing to say, but the woman, she kept her cool, and she, like, I don't know if they're brother and sister. Was that established?
Yeah,
okay. So they had to have the guy be a sniveling little fuck because they needed the woman to be empowering. And you know, when they do it right, I love that. I think that's great. The new Tomb Raider and how she is not as focused on, you know, hey, look at my big boobs because I'm Angelina Jolie. Instead, they had this woman who, and I think she was very empowering in all the right ways. Yep. You know, even the song that they chose for the trailer, it was like a remix. I'm a survivor. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna get like even the song that they chose for the trailer was just absolutely awesome, and the movie itself, her empowerment was great. But to have the sniveling little fuck just so that she could overpower him and be the better sibling or whatever just seemed so cliche, and it was just one cliche out of so many cliches. And it's just like I said about the handbook, there were so many things that were they wrote things into the script because it's like, well, this is an action movie that has big, you know, monsters, so this needs to be in it, this needs to be in it. And it's, oh my God.
Yep.
Just hurt my freaking brain.
Do you think that it would be safe to say that if this movie didn't have The Rock in it, it would be a lot worse?
Hell yeah. And I mean, there's definitely some things that I liked about it, but then there were some things that were just so rocky about it.
So yeah, this is for me, this is definitely a lower tier Rock movie for me.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that's kind of my thing sometimes, is like, I'm just going to go watch a movie and just going to shut my brain off. And for that, I think it's good. But yeah, it is very action movie tropey.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm the type of person that gets a kick out of the lines that they show in the trailer. So like when we're watching the movie and they're in the helicopter, which, let's point out, how many combat vehicles does The Rock get into in this movie? I mean, it's like he's in one after
Jack
another.
Trades, master of none.
Yeah, I know. But when he's in the plane or the helicopter and the wolf jumps off the building, he was like, of course the wolf can fly. Like I got a kick out of that. And sometimes dumb humor like that really just I can jive with. But if we're comparing it to Skyscraper in particular, Skyscraper I thought was great. I thought was really, really good movie.
Really? Well, that needs to be a different discussion. Can I just say?
Well, okay, it's not like movie gold, but I thought it had a lot of heart, and I
well,
really
it was better
enjoyed it.
than Rampage. I mean, that's accurate.
Yeah, I will say that it was better than
But-
Rampage.
Like, here's the thing.
Is that really a bar you want to be a part of?
Look, here's
Like, hey, internet, you're better than the fucking Rampage movie.
yeah. I mean, I'm at the point I said at the beginning where I'm a little bit of the rocked out, and there was a movie he did where it was basically just him called Snitch, and that's
Yeah, I like that one.
I did not like that movie. I did.
I
Not
liked
like
it.
that
I
movie.
thought it was okay. Like, it wasn't again a cinematic.
We can't trust you with The Rock anymore at this point, okay?
yeah, like
No, it was one of those that I felt like and you may be able to agree or disagree. It's one of those that I felt like the story was very one-dimensional and didn't go anywhere.
I liked him in Faster.
okay.
That
see, I
one
hadn't
was
seen that
very
one.
grounded, and it was
Faster.
in a sense, I guess it was kind of your run-of-the-mill revenge story, but at the same time, I felt like they grounded it enough, and everything was very it was definitely not CG,
Yeah.
you know? And so, like, for that, I kind of really liked it, even though there was plenty about it that was kind of just like, okay, here's another revenge cop
Gotcha.
movie, I guess. So, but at the same time, I enjoyed it in the sense that, you know, The Rock is definitely charming. That we don't have to argue that. And The Rock is just, he has a presence. But like, here's a perfect example because it's in the same franchise. The Rock that we got in Fast 5, I love. Oh my God. He was so...
Fast
That
5
was-
was pinnacle.
That was like the point for me where I'm like, okay, The Rock is, something. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And I know he
But
had been in
then we
other
get-
stuff before, but man,
Yeah.
Fast 5, he was so good. And that was
He
the
was-
most jacked
he was-
that he had ever been in his life. I mean, my God.
Oh, right? Yeah. And that's the Rock we have. That's the, at least physique-wise, that's the Rock we always expect in all our movies now, is Fast 5 Rock. But here's the thing, is that then all of a sudden, we get the, Tooth Fairy Rock back. And now it's like he's super charming and he's super relatable and he's very Terry Crews-y. But I liked Fast 5 Rock. I liked this overpowering, like, hoorah, motherfucker. Like, that guy I really liked. But then we get this, oh my God. And it's in the same franchise. That's what I don't get, because all of a sudden he goes from this really, really tough guy, this just foreboding guy. And it's just like, oh my God. That character was just such a good antagonist.
He got
In the
heavily neutered.
second, yes, yeah, oh my God, yes. The second he turned into a quote unquote like anti-hero, but he's he's still the government, but he's on the,
He's with the
as
family.
soon as he turned into that, like the first scene or one of the first scenes you see him, well, no, I guess it is the first scene you see him in the most recent Fast movie. He's like coaching his daughter's team and they do this stupid like Hawaiian thing, which good for you. You're showing your heritage, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was just so cheesy.
Yeah.
It was so freaking cheesy, and it's like you took this absolutely like brick shit house of a guy and turned him into this soccer coach dad, and you made that the joke. You made the fact that you have this big tough guy who's actually sensitive. You made it a joke rather than keeping this guy that, like him doing the whole thing with the torpedo at the end of the movie. Like that's a joke. It's like, oh, I'm so tough that I can do this. And that's supposed to be funny.
That's the entire plot of Central
you know what?
Intelligence.
I'm at the point,
right?
Here's where I'm at with The Rock, and this was kind of the point I was going to. I don't know if he can carry a movie, but he definitely elevates a movie. Like,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
so I think that's where I'm at with The Rock, is kind of, if it's a Rock movie, I'm not as excited as I am if it's a movie with The Rock in it.
Right.
Part of what made Fast 5 so good was The Rock's intimidating presence and just how huge he was and how awesome he was. And Fast Five itself is one of the greatest heist movies you'll ever see.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm at with The Rock. Because you think about all the movies he's been in, Jumanji, which is like probably the last like good movie he was in. It wasn't just The Rock. It was The Rock and other people, that helped carry the movie. Right. It was Central Intelligence. Kevin Hart helped carry that movie. So I just feel like in Fast Five and all that stuff, it's not just The Rock, it's other people. I feel like he elevates.
Good point.
But I don't know if he carries.
Definitely.
I like how no one's bringing up Baywatch right now.
I actually enjoyed Baywatch for what it was.
You're not allowed to like that and then hate Rampage. It doesn't make sense in my brain noggin.
I will say that Baywatch is a better movie than Rampage.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
But again, that's not saying
it's not a high freaking bar, but I'll agree with it.
Baywatch was pretty funny. Like there was a lot of parts I really did. So I guess spoilers for Baywatch. Any movie that has a scene where a dude gets a hard on and he's sitting on his stomach in those lawn chairs and gets stuck in the chair with his hard on.
See, now
you got me. That movie
Rock,
was great.
The Rock we got in that, and the charming Rock, but he's still a buff guy, and that kind of comedy works for that kind of movie. But then when you have this action movie, but you're still trying to be quirky, I just don't know if that Rock is the right Rock that we need for it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they needed a better balance between the charming, funny Rock to the intimidating Rock, especially for this movie when you're supposed to somehow believe he can go up against a huge freaking crocodile. That whole scene where he was just trying to fight it, but it was laughable because of not only just how much CG there was, but it was just oh yeah, right. Oh, come on. Oh, really? No, stop it. Oh, come on. Why is this not stopping? Okay. Thank you. It is finally done. All right. So yeah, that's what we think about Rampage. What did you guys think of Rampage? If you liked it, let us know what kind of, weed you were smoking or what kind of drugs you were on, because obviously I wasn't on the right kind. So let us know at ThreadX3 Productions on Twitter, or TX3 Productions on Twitter, or threadx3productions@gmail.com.
I will say I was not high whenever I saw Rampage.
Okay. Let's just agree to disagree. Okay.
It was after that.
You had to in order to get over it. Boom! I got you, sucker. So let's head on to our comic book club. All right, so comic book club. Last time we chose, I don't know why at this point, but we chose hey, let's go back to the original. We went to the original Avengers 1963. It was definitely interesting going back in time to the 1960s comic books. So, I mean, Nate, what was your impressions on it?
So the thing I liked about it was that for anyone who wasn't following along, we got to experience it with you as well, because you proceeded to post several screenshots of just the different boards, just the different conversations going on. So it was really a sharing experience for everyone.
Yeah,
but
the boards were pretty good.
So funny. It's so funny to live in the world we live in now, post MCU, and go back and read these comics and different excerpts and things like that, and just see the change. See, these are what comic books are now, but this is what they used to be.
Yeah.
This is definitely classified as the golly gee willikers Batman.
Oh God, right. Oh my jeepers. I mean, I can't imagine talking like that. I mean, with just my own mannerisms, just, oh my God, it was such a funny experience. I mean, this is going to get me some flack. This is going to get me some major flack. I mean, I'm going to have so much flack that I'm going to be taking down airplanes. Anyways, going to have so much flack you can make a jacket out of it. Hey,
there you go.
Anyways, but after reading this, and it's so hard because we live in such a different time, but after reading this, I'm like, how did people like this? How was this like, genre changing back in the day? Like, oh, this is what comic books are. If you're not doing this, you're a bad comic book. Like, okay, a couple of the things, if you're not a part of our Discord group, a couple of the things that just really, really stood out to me is just the over explaining that was prevalent in the earlier issues of Marvel in general. Just, they explained everything, even what they were showing on the screen. They felt the need to elaborate, and I felt like it was because one of the funniest ones is when he uses his telepathy to mess with the radio signals, and apparently that means tornado.
So can I do everyone a favor, and can I read some of these that you sent?
Sure,
Please.
go for it.
So one of the ones, and I'm going to do these dramatic. One of the ones was for an example of the over explanation. It says, and so I'm going to read this dramatically.
And so, seconds later, a frantic message is beamed from the headquarters of the Teen Brigade in the Southwest, halfway across the country towards New York.
It's just, and then my favorite one that you sent with the tag LOL casual sexism. It's a still of I guess that's Wasp. Yeah, I think it's Wasp with Ant-Man. She says, "Henry Pym, you're beginning to sound like a stuffy old bachelor again." To his response,
And I intend to remain that way. Now see if you can't be quiet long enough for me to activate the double catapult.
Oh man, different times. You see, it was okay to just spank a girl's bottom back then.
Oh my god.
You didn't have to worry about being a Weinstein or
Yeah.
the casual sexism was just like, I feel like in all seriousness, without trying to be a dick or anything, but like in all seriousness, if something like that was written in a Marvel book nowadays, like, even if it was set back in the 1950s, I feel like there'd still be people like, how could you write a woman character that way? It's so demeaning, and so to go back in time and to see that, not only was this prevalent, but it's like, I mean, how many woman writers were even back in the day?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, so that was one of the things. One of the things was the overacting. And then another thing is, I really highly suggest, and this isn't just me plugging, but I really highly suggest you go and you join our Discord, because one of the pictures that I sent was just of a guy staring at the camera. And it's just like, I am going to eat your soul.
It's like that scene from Little Nicky when he gets possessed and he's like, I will eat your heart.
It's just so creepy. And it's like, it's supposed to be like excitement.
Dramatic.
I guess. Like, yeah, we just got a radio call from Thor or whatever. We're so excited. He's just like, I'm so excited. I wonder what his flesh tastes like. Oh my god! And another really, really good one. Let me bring it up on my phone.
Is it the Thor one?
Sorry, go ahead.
Is it the Thor one?
What?
Is it the Thor one?
Yes, it's the Thor one, where it's now having like the text bubbles where it's like in yellow and it's supposed to be the narrator. Having the narrator over explain stuff kind of makes sense, because it's like a 1950s, like, meanwhile back at the Legion of Doom, having the narrator over explain things is one thing, but having a character in the oh my god, here we go. So Thor is talking and he's like, by hurling my mighty hammer and holding on to the unbreakable thong. I couldn't even get through it.
Yeah, your response was, now the characters are doing it too.
Now the characters are, oh my god. But yeah, so he's explaining how he flies, basically. and how he flies is he doesn't actually fly. What he does is he throws his hammer, and he throws it with such immense force that it lifts him off the ground. And because reasons, because Stan Lee apparently assumed everybody was stupid and wouldn't be able to understand it. Not only that, but it's like, I feel like Thor would have already been an established character. So he's really like, they put this part in there for people who maybe never read a Thor comic. And so they don't understand that, well, no, he doesn't fly. Actually, what he does is he throws his hammer. But I don't know. Just keep going. He sees Hulk, but it's not really Hulk. So he's like, strange. He moves as though he hasn't seen me. As though he's not aware of anything. Of course, that's in bold, and it's exclamation. No, now he sees me. He's grasping a huge boulder. He intends to hurl it at me. But by my hammer will stop it. Who in the history of ever talks like that? Like, even, like, oh my God, like, oh no, he sees me. Oh no, he's picking up a rock. Oh no, he's going to hurl it at me. I guess I should do something about that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Just how dramatically it's written, I guess.
I don't even imagine Shakespeare doing this. Be like, art thou dagger stabbeth in thine chest. And I understand this is Thor, and so he has different mannerisms, but
this sounds exactly like something that would be written in the Batman original TV show with Adam West. That is Adam West. It just sounds like something that show would say.
Golly gee willikers,
yeah,
Batman.
All that good stuff.
See, and that's the thing, is that like when they had Adam West and they would do like the, you know, but they would be like, pow, bing.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Thor is doing. He's explaining the bam. He's explaining the pow. Oh my God. It's like, I got through like, I want to say, I didn't get through that much. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I didn't get through that much. For one, I'm getting through a different job. I'm quitting one job, starting another job. I had to like, you know, it's a whole thing. So that's for one. I got through plenty of it, you know, so I'm not going to say that much, but I mean, but the point is, it was hard. It was hard to get through it. And I literally said this on Discord. I'm like, I have to like film myself reading this because it's just so funny. It's like, I can't go one panel without just laughing my ass off. And I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
It's one of those that I know that there are a certain group of people who really do enjoy those comics, and I think it's just to look at it through a nostalgic lens, honestly, because nowadays there are a lot better stories to read. But you know, if you're a big fan of the Avengers, like you may really like these older books, kind of to see where everything came from.
Right.
You know, for me, I'm not well versed enough in Marvel's actual comics because I've always been a DC comics reader. But there are several Marvel stories that I have really enjoyed, primarily being the Ultimates line.
Definitely. Ultimate Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Well, Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, Ultimate X-Men.
Yes.
Like, it's like...
Ultimate.
Ultimate, yeah. Ultimate Avengers was really good, too.
Yes.
But, so there's certain storylines and certain runs that I really enjoy, but my knowledge for, like, different stories of their comics past, I'm not super knowledgeable about.
Yeah, and I mean, when I first got really into comic book reading, this was back when I worked at an outgoing call center, so not ingoing. So the difference there is that we would call people. So I'd say like 75% of my day was I'd hear somebody's answering machine and then I'd hang up because we don't leave calls on the answer machine. So, you know, a good percentage of my day was I'd hear the answer machine, hang up. Hear an answer machine, hang up. Oh, hey, would you like to donate to... Okay. Answer machine, so that was most of my day. And so that's when I really got into comic books. Obviously, at that point, it's 2013, 2013, 2012 and stuff. So a lot of the stuff I was getting into was the much more gritty and sort of grounded. I mean, obviously you still have Iron Man and he somehow has this technology, and you have Thor and he's magical and stuff, but still it was a lot more grounded. And so yeah, going back to this weird time, I love it, but not for the intended way that I love it. I love it just for the absolute campiness of it, for the absolute gut busting faces. Like there's one where like Thor is trying to explain himself or something. Like, okay, another thing. Iron Man says lad. Like, isn't he from New York? Like, oh, listen to me, a laddie.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's go, and we're going to save the day, laddie. Like it happened enough times where I'm like, was that common in America? Like, not only that, but it's like I thought he was a New Yorker. So like I would think like, you know, Wolverine, where he says bub, which Wolverine is Canadian. So it's like here we have an American who sounds British and then a Canadian who sounds American because he says bub a lot. Not bubbala.
Bubbala.
I said that really close, not bub-a-la, but bub space a lot.
Yeah. So real quick, I have breaking news.
Breaking. That was your setup.
As of
Jesus.
an hour ago, the statement from IGN about the Dead Cells review has been made, and they have let the writer go.
Oh,
very interesting.
Jeez.
IGN came out with
not surprised.
IGN came out with an official statement. I'm just going to read this part. It says, "We take our review process seriously. In most cases, reviewers are expected to play a game's single-player or story campaign to completion at least once, as well as spend additional time capturing gameplay to supply content for the video component. Though our Dead Cells reviewer played the game and came away with glowing opinions of it, as did many of our other staff members, the review itself was simply not acceptable. We've parted ways with the writer involved in the review, and we will be re-reviewing Dead Cells this week."
Wow.
Man. Wow.
So I guess that answers the question. Yeah, it was probably plagiarized.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, yeah. And see, this might go back to my point before where it's like, will they fire him in order to basically save face?
Probably.
Before this, I would have said probably because they need to make a smart business decision for them.
Right.
Because if they let this slide, they lose their credibility.
Absolutely.
What credibility they have, you know what I mean? Because some people don't think they have any. But yeah, That is very interesting that they let him go, and it's.
So I mean, if you guys are a part of the Discord group or whatever, we'll be choosing a new comic book club once a month. So if you would like to join us there, that'd be great. And let us know if you have Comixology. You can borrow it, so it's pretty much for quote unquote free. I mean, obviously you still have to have Comixology, but if you have it, let us know. It was definitely an experience. Like, in all seriousness, I liked it. Like I said, it might not have been for the intended purposes, but it is something weird to just go back and to see something through a completely different lens. To see how like the way Thor acts in this one is similar. They have the somewhat the DNA, but it's also so much different. But yeah, I'd like to know. I'd like to keep the conversation going in our Discord or at TX3 Productions, and let us know everything you thought about it, and if you feel the same way, or if you read it back then and you read it again for the comic book club, is your opinion way different? I would definitely like to have a conversation with that person, because ours is very much askew because we have such a different starting point, I guess, for Marvel. So yeah, let us know in the comments, down in the TX3, all that stuff. So let's go ahead and another thing we wanted to do alongside our comic book club and a couple of other things is we wanted to do choose a rando movie. All right. So here's how the rules are going to work. I'm going to have Nate. He's going to choose a number, and that's going to correlate to, something. Coach is going to pick a number, and that's going to correlate to another thing. We're going to all watch this movie together. Okay. So first off, Coach, red or green?
Green.
Okay, green is Hulu. I'm going to have to choose a different thing next time because I don't want you to know.
Ha
All right. So here's how it's going to work. So, Coach, you chose Hulu. So now I'm in the More Movies catalog. Nate, give me a number 1 to 10.
5.
Okay. 1, 2, or I guess I should count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Animated Justice League. Okay. That's not so bad. Give me a number 1 through 5 or 1 through 10.
8.
8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, Justice League War.
Ooh, okay.
That might be interesting.
All right.
Oh, if you would have want one more, we would have had Justice League Dark.
Oh.
Dang it. I haven't seen that one.
I hadn't seen...
Well, I don't think I've seen War either, actually. So
I feel like I've
might
seen
not
War.
be bad.
I don't remember.
Oh, it has Shazam. I haven't seen anything with Shazam, so I definitely haven't seen it. Justice League War. That is our rando movie of the day. So next time we'll come on, we'll do a review of it and everything. I think we got lucky this time because it very well could have been like Zombeaver or something really bad like that. So I feel like we got off way too freaking easy this time. So Justice League War, if you'd like to join in the discussion, you can go to our Discord and we'll have a whole channel dedicated to our random movie of the week. So this week's random movie of the week is Justice League War, and we will review that next time. Coming up, since this is a new weekly show, we can kind of tease what's going to come up. So coming up, we're going to have our impressions on Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight is one of the PlayStation Plus games of the month. So I'm actually super excited about this. I was debating on whether or not I wanted to get that or Friday the 13th because Dead by Daylight was actually like $10 cheaper at the time, and I ended up getting something, I can't remember what, but I ended up getting something else. But I always wondered, because they both looked really good. Now we get it for free, so I don't have to make that decision anymore. And with all the lawsuits for Friday the 13th, we won't get into that. But one of the cool things I'm actually kind of excited for is you can play as Freddy from the Freddy Krueger. You can play as Freddy in this game, and I'm actually genuinely excited about this. So you're going to get our impressions on Dead by Daylight. I will also hopefully, no guarantee, but this is 90% sure. I'm going to get Overcooked 2. So I want to get our impressions on that. We all will be able to, because this is a Netflix movie, we'll all be able to talk about The Package. This looks like, a silly, gross out comedy about a couple of teenagers that go camping. It looks kind of funny, so we'll talk about our impressions on that. Also, coming up, this will be, I think, just in time for next week because August 11th, Rocket League is starting their U.S. qualifiers on August 11th. So we'll talk about that in esports. I want to kind of start mixing in a little bit of everything nerdy, and esports is definitely becoming a huge thing to talk about. And Rocket League, for me, is super easy to get into because it's basically like a sport already, but now you have rocket-powered cars. So I'm really excited to kind of start from the beginning and maybe hopefully watch, one of the US guys hopefully go to the end. So I'm really excited to start this off. US qualifiers start on August 11th. So if you'd like to join us there, we'll also have a discussion on Discord about that. So thank you so much for joining me, Nate.
What up?
Thank you for joining me, Coach.
Anytime.
And I guess I should have given you a chance to reply. But thank you so much for joining me, guys. Once again, we will be weekly and we will be changing to Mondays. The podcast will be out on Mondays now. So thank you so much for joining us for Nerd to the Third. Bro, you want to know what pushes my buttons?
What pushes your buttons, Nick?
Thank you. That's what you did last time. I was
No,
like expecting
I know.
you to
I
be...
thought you were doing the thing we can.
No,
Now it's time for
never.
you to push my
You know
buttons.
what?
Okay.
Be a
Do it again.
professional.
Do it again.
And just fuck it. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Fuck it. I don't need a script. Okay.
You're typing. You keep
Shut up! I have to keep up. Okay, don't distract me with telling me that I'm typing. I fucking know, okay? So, what really pushes me buttons...
What pushes me buttons?
Oh, you know what pushes me buttons, me laddies. Let me tell you.
So are we just gonna put like comments on the doc?
No, you're not gonna put just put the timestamp of when I It is what it is. And it is jizz.
It is what it forever will be.
What?
I don't fucking know.
You don't
Just
fucking know.